Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everything you believed about the world was wrong. The news doesn't tell you the truth. Social media manipulates what you see, and each new crisis seems to emerge conveniently, always pushing humanity in a single direction. What is happening before our eyes is no coincidence. There is a plan, a hidden agenda being implemented quietly and relentlessly. And the worst, almost no one notices. Now think with me, why do all of a sudden all the governments in the world seem to follow the same narrative? Why do crises happen at exactly the right time to justify measures that restrict their freedom? Why is so much change happening so fast, and anyone who questions it is immediately silenced? If you believe that all of this is just the natural course of history, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're playing their game. The leader of the new world is about to be revealed. And when that happens, those who are not prepared will not have time to react. It's not an exaggeration, it's a warning. If you don't understand what's happening now, when you do, it's too late. Economic control, total censorship, extreme surveillance, and manipulation of religion are no longer theories. They are realities that are already in motion. But you need to know how it all connects. Now you have two options. Ignore this alert and continue living as if nothing was happening, or watch until the end and tell me in the comments what you are already seeing differently that you didn't see before. The decision is yours. But if you choose to turn a blind eye now, know that at the most pivotal moment in history, you may find yourself on the wrong side, without even understanding how you got there. The truth will not be told on television. She's here, and you need to know before it's too late. The world is moving towards a radical transformation, and many do not even realize it. The prophecy of Revelation 13:16-17 warns of a global system where no one will be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. But what does this mean in practice? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that without this mark, you can't access your bank, pay your bills, buy food, or even enter certain places. Does it seem far away? Not so much. The advancement of digital currencies, biometric identification systems, and the increasing digitization of commerce already set the stage. The Antichrist does not need to come up with a demonic face. He will come as a charismatic leader, a crisis solver, but his solution will come at a price: total submission. Throughout history, we have seen regimes testing total control of society. From Roman emperors who demanded worship, to modern governments that impose financial constraints on anyone who challenges their authority, the concept of absolute control has never been more feasible than it is now. The financial system is going digital, and this means that with a simple command, anyone can be excluded from the global economy. Want an example? During periods of crisis, governments have frozen bank accounts of ordinary citizens to prevent mass withdrawals. Now imagine this on a global scale, with a single government deciding who can and cannot have access to the basics to live. But make no mistake, the acceptance of this brand will not be just a matter of convenience. It will be a watershed between faithfulness to God and submission to the Antichrist. In the past, Christians were thrown to the lions for not bowing down to the Roman Empire. In the future, those who refuse to bow to the world government will be seen as rebels. The persecution will come, and it won't just be physical. Social isolation, hunger, and financial blockade will be part of this new order. Would you accept something that guaranteed you immediate comfort, but cost you your soul? This is exactly the choice that the mark of the beast will bring. The main question is, how will something like this be accepted by so many people? The answer is simple: fear and comfort. In a crisis scenario, the majority will be willing to give up freedom to have stability. Wars, pandemics, economic collapses, all of these pave the way for the masses to accept any solution that promises security. Today, we see small-scale trials with digital identities, health passports, and social credit systems. Each of these mechanisms teaches the population to get used to control. When the real system comes, no one will see it as something strange. You will already be conditioned. Technology will be the Antichrist's greatest ally. With increasingly smaller and more efficient devices, the brand can be integrated directly into the human body. A subcutaneous microchip, an invisible code under the skin, a digital ID linked to the iris. What seemed like science fiction a few decades ago is now on the radar of companies and governments. Recently, employees of some companies have already begun to be voluntarily implanted with chips to access buildings and make payments. Today it is optional. Tomorrow it will be mandatory. And make no mistake, this mark will not be just a number or any symbol. Revelation 14:9-10 makes it clear that accepting this mark means rejecting God. It will not be a simple code for identification, it will be a spiritual alliance with the Antichrist. Just as followers of Christ are sealed with the Holy Spirit, those who accept this mark will be sealed to perdition. The world will say that it is just a means of making life easier, but the truth will be much darker. The question is not, will this happen, but when will it happen? The signs are already visible. The convergence of crises, the advancement of technology, and the centralization of power in a few hands point to the imminence of this reality. The prophecy leaves no doubt. Total economic control will come, and those who do not prepare themselves spiritually will be vulnerable. What would you do if tomorrow your bank account was blocked for not adhering to the new system? Having faith will not only be a matter of belief, but of survival. And if all this seems like an exaggeration, just look at history. Totalitarian systems always begin under the promise of order and security. The difference is that this time it will not be just one country or one regime. It will be the whole world under a single government, led by the one who will bring about the greatest persecution in history. But that's just the beginning. What happens when total economic control is implemented? The financial freedom that now seems guaranteed is about to disappear. Revelation 13:17 is clear in stating that no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast. But what does this mean in practice? Imagine a world where all physical cash disappears and all transactions are monitored by a centralized system. Every purchase, every payment, every transfer will be under surveillance. Now, think about what happens if someone dares to question this system. Without the brand, it will be impossible to access one's own money. This is not fiction. We are already seeing the first signs of this reality with the digitization of banking, the advancement of government-issued digital currencies, and the increasing integration between technology and personal identity. The idea of a 100% digital economic system is not new. Today, we see banks closing physical branches, businesses adopting electron-only payments, and governments exploring the concept of centralized digital currency, CBDC. But the issue goes far beyond convenience. With a simple tap, anyone can be disconnected from the global financial system. It's happened before. Bank accounts frozen by political decisions, unannounced asset freezes, and social credit systems determining who can and can't access certain services. Now, imagine this on an unprecedented scale, where refusal to accept the mark of the beast means being wiped out of the world economy. This total economic control will not come as a brutal imposition overnight. It will be introduced gradually, always under the justification of safety, efficiency, and modernization. First, the elimination of cash. Then, the replacement of physical cards with biometrics and digital identification. Next, the requirement for a unique identifier, something that can be a chip, a subcutaneous code, or any other system capable of tracking and validating all financial activities. By the time people realize that they are completely dependent on this system, it will be too late to resist. Fear will be the main weapon to make the majority accept this control. In times of crisis, people look for quick solutions. Imagine a major global recession where the financial collapse generates panic. World leaders will come up with an answer, a unified economic system, where all citizens will have guaranteed access to basic income and services, as long as they accept the new global identity. Many will accept without question, because the alternative will be hunger, misery, and isolation. After all, what can a mark on the hand or forehead matter when what is at stake is survival itself? The problem is that this mark will not be just an administrative detail. It will represent loyalty to the Antichrist and his world government. Those who refuse will be considered threats to the system. Think about how, today, those who disagree with certain political or social narratives are already censored, blocked, or even persecuted. Now, extend this to the global level, where those who do not accept the mark of the beast will be seen as dangerous criminals, terrorists, or dissidents. In some places they may be arrested, in others simply prevented from living. And the institutions, banks, hospitals, supermarkets, and even schools will adopt the brand as a requirement. Without it, there will be no way to pay for a medical consultation, buy medicine, or enroll a child in school. Access to public transportation may be denied. Companies will be able to require the trademark to allow someone to work. All of this will be implemented in the name of order and security. But at its core, it will be the ultimate strategy to ensure that no one can get out of hand. What to do in the face of this imminent reality? Many still wonder if they should prepare by stocking up on food, looking for financial alternatives, or simply waiting for something to change. The truth is that without spiritual discernment, no strategy will suffice. This will not only be an economic clash, but a spiritual war. Those who resist will need to fully trust God to meet their needs, as human resources will be cut off. The Bible teaches us that God sustained Elijah in the wilderness, that he multiplied loaves and fishes, and that he never abandons those who trust in him. But the preparation begins now, and not when the siege is already closed. And if all this seems exaggerated, look around. Every new crisis, every technological advancement, and every change in the way we handle money points to a future where the economy will be fully controlled. What will come next? An alliance between politics and religion, where brand acceptance will not only be a financial issue, but an act of worship. The Antichrist will demand more than economic submission. He will demand total allegiance. The Antichrist will not rule solely through economics and political control. He will demand worship. Revelation 13:11-12 describes a false prophet who will act as a key player in the implementation of this global cult, uniting religion and politics into one system. Just as in the Roman Empire, where citizens were required to burn incense in honor of the emperor as a sign of loyalty, this new world order will require total submission, not just practical, but spiritual. Accepting the mark of the beast will be more than an economic decision. It will be a covenant of allegiance to the Antichrist. Many may think they would never do such a thing, but history proves otherwise. Over the centuries, rulers have imposed cults in their own image. From Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, which demanded worship of the golden image, Daniel 3, to modern regimes that repress any form of faith that does not submit to the state, this fusion of government and religion has always been present. The Antichrist will only raise this to the global level. And it won't be a brutal imposition at first. It will come disguised as unity, peace, and progress. This false religious system will present itself as a solution to the world's conflicts. Wars, divisions, and intolerance will lead many people to call for leadership that brings harmony. Thus, the false prophet will introduce a forced ecumenism, where all faiths will be encouraged to unite under one purpose. But there is a catch. This new religious system will exclude any faith that does not bow to the Antichrist. Genuine Christianity will be seen as radicalism. Anyone who insists on following the Bible will be considered intolerant and dangerous. Those who accept the mark of the beast will in effect be declaring their allegiance to the Antichrist in the same way that, in ancient times, citizens of the Roman Empire had to swear allegiance to the emperor as if he were a god. Revelation 14:9-10 makes it clear that this decision will have eternal consequences. Whoever accepts this mark will be sealing his fate, because this will not only be an administrative matter, but a spiritual declaration of submission. The false prophet will play an essential role in this process, using signs and wonders to deceive the multitudes. Just as the magicians of Egypt imitated the miracles of Moses, this religious leader will use supernatural powers to convince the world that the Antichrist is worthy of worship. False miracles, impressive manifestations, and even cosmic events can be used to solidify this illusion. And since many no longer have a true knowledge of God's word, they will believe these lies. Technology will also play a key role. With the advancement of artificial intelligence and augmented reality, the creation of hyper-realistic images and projections will allow the Antichrist to become ubiquitous. In Revelation 13:15, we see that the image of the beast will be worshipped, something that in the past might have seemed impossible, but is now feasible through holographic technology and facial recognition systems. The whole world will be able to be monitored, and anyone who refuses to worship will be identified and punished. The big question is, how to resist this? The answer lies in faithfulness to God, even in the face of persecution. In Daniel's day, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego preferred to be thrown into the furnace rather than bow down before the golden image. In the future, those who refuse to worship the Antichrist will face unprecedented persecution. But there is a promise. Those who remain faithful will be rewarded with everlasting life, while those who yield will suffer divine wrath. But if this persecution will come, what happens to those who do not accept the mark of the beast? The next topic will reveal the fate in store for those who remain firm in the faith, even in the face of the tribulation. Those who refuse the mark of the beast will not only face economic hardship, but also relentless persecution. Revelation 13:15 makes it clear, whoever does not worship the image of the beast will be killed. This tribulation period will be marked by unprecedented repression, where Christians and all who resist the Antichrist will be hunted down, imprisoned, and even executed. This may seem distant to some, but the truth is that the first signs of this intolerance can already be seen in today's world. Restrictions on religious freedom, censorship of Christian values, and the marginalization of those who oppose global narratives are just rehearsals for what is to come. The persecution of Christ's followers is nothing new. Since the times of the Roman Empire, Christians have been thrown to the lions for refusing to worship the emperor. During the Inquisition, Bibles were burned and believers were tortured for not submitting to official doctrine. In modern times, we see Christians being persecuted in various parts of the world for simply carrying a Bible. The Antichrist will only take this oppression to a global level, where any expression of true faith will be considered a crime against the state. Daniel 7:25 warns us that the Antichrist will try to change laws and times, imposing total dominion over the nations. This means that the persecution will not come in a chaotic way, but in an organized way. There will be laws that will prohibit Christian worship, identify those who do not have the mark, and establish punishments for those who challenge the system. Think about it. If governments today can impose restrictions on what can and cannot be said on social networks, imagine what they will do when they have absolute control over the economy, religion, and individual rights. But why will this persecution be so intense? Because the Antichrist does not just want to rule, he wants to be worshipped. Anyone who refuses to accept it as the supreme authority will be seen as an enemy of progress and world peace. The discourse will be clear. Those who resist the system will be holding humanity back, and to ensure this evolution, severe punishments will be applied. This will include arrests, torture, and even public executions as a way of intimidating others. The resistance, however, will not only be physical, but also psychological. Many Christians will be pressured to betray their faith to save their own family members. Imagine a parent being forced to choose between accepting the brand or watching their children go hungry. That will be the true test of fidelity, and that is exactly why those who prepare themselves spiritually now will have more strength to endure what is to come. The days of hiding to worship God will return. Small resistance groups will spring up where believers will gather secretly to pray and share the word. It will be like in the times of the early church, where Christians gathered in catacombs to escape Roman persecution. However, this time, technology will be a weapon against them. With digital tracking, facial recognition, and massive surveillance, it will be increasingly difficult to avoid identification. Only those who truly depend on God will be able to endure to the end. Even in the face of persecution, God's promise remains. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee the crown of life. Revelation 2:10. The suffering will be temporary, but the reward will be eternal. The Antichrist may rule for a time, but his reign will not last forever. The persecution only precedes something much greater, the full manifestation of global control and technology as a tool of domination. The Antichrist will not need armies around every corner to enforce his dominance. He will have technology on his side. The prophecy of Revelation 13:16-17 indicates that the mark of the beast will be a system of absolute global control, and today we already have all the tools necessary for this to become a reality. With the digitization of money, artificial intelligence, and facial recognition systems, the world is already being shaped so that no one can escape this scheme. What once seemed like science fiction is now a matter of time. The idea of a global digital identification system is already in the testing phase. Many governments and corporations advocate the creation of a unified digital identity, which centralizes all of an individual's data: medical history, financial, criminal, location, and even social behavior. Imagine a world where every citizen has a chip or a subcutaneous code that stores all their information. Without it, you wouldn't be able to access your money, travel, or use any essential services. Does it seem exaggerated? Countries like China already use a social credit system where the behavior of citizens determines their rights and restrictions. And how will this technology be used to force submission to the Antichrist? Simple. If every purchase and every move is tracked, anyone who tries to get out of control will be quickly identified. Imagine that in the future, Christians who refuse to accept the mark of the beast will not be able to buy food. If they try to purchase something without this brand, the system will automatically block the transaction. Even if they try to survive with the help of others, anyone who helps them can be detected and penalized. Facial biometrics will be one of the main mechanisms for this surveillance. Today, we already see facial recognition cameras installed on streets, airports, and even stores. This system can be used to monitor whether someone participates in underground cults or interacts with other dissidents. The Antichrist will not need human informants. The very devices around the world will do this work. The persecution will be silent and efficient. In addition, artificial intelligence could be used to manipulate information and fabricate evidence against those who resist the system. Think about how today it is possible to create fake videos with deepfake, where faces and voices are digitally recreated. Now, imagine a future where a Christian faithful to the gospel is charged with a crime based on artificially generated imagery. With so many people blindly trusting technology, anyone could be framed in a matter of seconds. Another crucial point will be the replacement of physical currency with centrally controlled digital financial systems. With government-issued digital currencies, CBDCs, all transactions will be able to be tracked and regulated. Anyone who tries to act outside the system can have their access to the money blocked instantly. The banking system itself will become an instrument of oppression. And who can resist? What happens to those who try to escape this technological dominance? They will be considered a threat. Anyone who refuses to accept the new order will be treated as an enemy of global stability. In totalitarian regimes of the past, dissidents were seen as traitors and excluded from society. In the future, it will be even easier to enforce this isolation, as it will not be necessary to arrest or exile anyone. It will be enough to prevent that person from buying, selling, or accessing basic services. The Antichrist will use technology not only for control, but to reinforce his spiritual influence. Revelation 13:15 speaks of the image of the beast, which may even speak and kill those who do not worship it. With advances in artificial intelligence and augmented reality, it is now possible to design interactive holograms and create hyper-realistic digital avatars. Imagine a system where the image of the Antichrist is present everywhere, watching and demanding worship, and where anyone who refuses to revere him is identified and punished immediately. But all this will lead to an even bigger step, the total centralization of power. The next topic explores how this global government will be established and why it is one of the clearest signs of the end times. Bible prophecy has always pointed to an inevitable scenario, the rise of a one-world government. Revelation 13:7-8 describes a global dominion where all nations, tribes, and tongues will bow down to the Antichrist. But this will not happen suddenly. The world will be led step by step until everyone accepts this new order as if it were the only possible solution. Wars, economic crises, and pandemics will be used as justifications for the centralization of power. After all, in times of chaos, people look for a strong leader who offers them security. Such a system will not be imposed by force, at least not at first. It will be presented as the only logical alternative to solve global problems. Political fragmentation, conflicts between nations, and economic instability will create an environment where unification will seem inevitable. Supranational organizations such as the UN, the World Economic Forum, and other global entities have been advocating the idea of a centralized government for decades. The argument? Avoid wars, promote financial stability, and guarantee basic rights to all. But behind this discourse of peace and progress, there will be a much bigger plan. The key to this dominance will be the unification of three major pillars: politics, economics, and religion. First, a system of global governance will be established, where nations will gradually lose their sovereignty. Today, we already see economic blocs and international treaties that limit the autonomy of countries. In the future, this will intensify until local decisions are determined by a global council. Second, the economy will be completely centralized. No physical cash, no independent banks, no private transactions. Every penny spent will be recorded and authorized by this new financial order. And third, a universal religious system will be created, where all faiths will be aligned under the same purpose. The Antichrist will not act alone. Revelation 13:11-12 mentions the false prophet, a religious leader who will have the mission of promoting the worship of the Antichrist and consolidating this new global religion. He will use signs and wonders to deceive the masses, convincing them that this new world leadership is divine. This has happened in the past. Political leaders have been worshipped as gods in various empires. However, this time, it will not be just a centralized figure. Technology will allow this influence to spread and be reinforced on a global scale. And how will this government be accepted by all? Simple, through fear and convenience. The fear of chaos, war, and economic collapse will cause many to embrace this system without question. But at the same time, the desirability of a world without conflicts, without inequality, and without barriers will appeal to those who seek comfort above all else. For those who want to continue to be part of society, the acceptance of this government will be practically automatic. However, such domination will not bring true peace. It will be built on control, manipulation, and repression. Anyone who opposes it will be considered an enemy of progress. Those who do not accept the mark of the beast will be marginalized, persecuted, and even eliminated. The illusion of a united humanity will quickly turn into a brutal system of surveillance and punishment for those who do not submit. But there is one detail that few realize. This world government will only be a preparation for something even greater. This unified system will take the world directly into the darkest period in history, the Great Tribulation and the final war between good and evil. The next topic reveals how this last battle will take place and why it will mark the end of the Antichrist's reign. The world will enter its darkest period. The Bible describes the Great Tribulation as a time of unprecedented trouble, where the rule of the Antichrist will reach its apex. Revelation 13:5-7 reveals that this regime will last 7 years, divided into 2 periods: the tribulation, first 3.5 years, and the Great Tribulation, last 3.5 years. If at first the world government will seem like a system of order and stability, it will soon turn into a brutal dictatorship where persecution, absolute control, and terror will be the main tools. But all of this will culminate in an even greater event, the Battle of Armageddon, the last confrontation between the forces of the Antichrist and God himself. In the early years of the tribulation, mankind will believe that they have finally found peace and security. The economy will be unified, religions will be forced to coexist, and conventional wars will seemingly cease. But this illusion will soon dissipate. Daniel 9:27 warns that this covenant of peace will be broken in the middle of the prophetic week, i.e., after 3.5 years. The Antichrist will reveal his true intent, demanding exclusive worship, persecuting those who do not bow down, and bringing destruction upon the earth. Those who resist the mark of the beast will face the worst hardships. Revelation 13:15 declares that those who do not worship the image of the beast will be killed. This means that there will be no middle ground. Either you are part of the system or you will be eliminated. The persecution will become a public spectacle, with dissidents being hunted down, exposed, and punished in an exemplary way. Fear will be used as a weapon to make the majority submit without question. But the oppression of the Antichrist will not be the only problem. During this time, God will begin to pour out his judgment on the earth. Revelation 16 describes the 7 bowls of God's wrath, bringing plagues, natural calamities, darkness, and destruction. What seemed to be an invincible government will begin to crumble. The global system will be faced with increasingly severe crises, while the world plunges into an irreversible collapse. The end of this period will culminate in the greatest battle in history, Armageddon. Revelation 19:19 reveals that the Antichrist will gather armies from all over the world to fight against God. The goal will be to challenge the Creator himself in a final act of rebellion. This war will not be like any other ever seen. It will be a cosmic conflict between the forces of evil and the heavenly army. The Antichrist and his followers will believe that they can win. The arrogance of this system will reach such an extreme level that they will actually think they can challenge Jesus Christ. But the Bible has already made the result clear. Revelation 19:20 states that the Antichrist and the false prophet will be captured and thrown alive into the lake of fire. Your forces will be completely destroyed, and your evil empire will come to an end. Victory will not only be military, but spiritual. That will be the moment when all illusion of the Antichrist will be shattered. Those who have trusted the system will realize that they have been deceived. Those who refuse to accept the mark of the beast but were persecuted will see that their allegiance to God was not in vain. And for those who have waited for divine justice, it will finally be the moment of redemption. But the end of the Antichrist is only the beginning of something even greater. After this battle, a spectacular event will take place, the second coming of Jesus Christ. He will no longer come as the suffering lamb, but as the victorious king. The next topic will reveal how this moment will be the definitive watershed in human history. The world will be in ruins. The Antichrist, defeated at Armageddon, will have lost all his power. But there will still remain one great event that will change everything, the second coming of Jesus Christ. Revelation 19:11-16 describes this moment in an epic way. The sky will open, and Christ will come riding on a white horse, leading a heavenly army. He will no longer come as the suffering lamb, but as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, bringing righteousness and judgment upon the nations. It will be the end of the dominion of evil and the beginning of a new era. Throughout history, many kingdoms have come and gone. Rulers promised peace, but failed. Revolutions were fought in search of justice, but they never achieved perfection. However, when Christ returns, his victory will be final. Not only will he eliminate the Antichrist and the false prophet, but he will establish a perfect government where justice will prevail. All the corrupted systems of mankind will crumble before the true King of Kings, but this return will not be a discrete event. Matthew 24:27 says that the coming of Christ will be like lightning that crosses the sky from one side to the other. Unlike the first coming, where he was born in a humble manger, this time he will come with glory and power. All mankind will see this moment, and those who have mocked God, persecuted his followers, and relied on the Antichrist will realize that they have made the wrong choice. And what will be the fate of those who have accepted the mark of the beast? Revelation 19:20 declares that the Antichrist and the false prophet will be cast alive into the lake of fire, but their followers will also face judgment. Revelation 14:9-11 warns that those who have received the mark will suffer eternal damnation. It will be the moment of definitive separation between those who have remained faithful to God and those who have chosen to follow the evil system. But what about those who resisted, those who were persecuted, marginalized, and even killed for not submitting to the Antichrist? For them, there will be a reward. Revelation 24 talks about the resurrection of the martyrs of the tribulation who will reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Their suffering was not in vain. They will be honored and have a share in the kingdom of God. Christ's return will bring not only judgment, but restoration. The earth, devastated by the tribulation, will be renewed. Isaiah 11:6 describes a time of peace where even the ferocious beasts will live in harmony. The world will once again be governed with justice, without corruption, without oppression, without evil control. The world government of the Antichrist will have been a total failure, but the kingdom of Christ will be perfect and eternal. However, the history of humanity will not end here yet. The millennium of Christ will bring an unprecedented period of peace, but at the end of that time, something unexpected will happen. Satan will be loosed for a brief period. He will try to deceive the nations one last time before he is defeated forever. What will happen in this final outcome? How will God eradicate all evil once and for all? The next topic reveals the last chapter of this story and the ultimate fate of Satan and mankind. In the face of all that has been revealed, it is clear that the world is heading towards a point of no return. The rise of the Antichrist, total economic control, the relentless persecution of the faithful, and the great battle of Armageddon are only stages of a larger plan unfolding before our eyes. However, the most important question is how to prepare, how to remain faithful in times of darkness. The Bible gives us the answer: vigilance and absolute fidelity to God. Matthew 7:13-14 warns us that most will choose the broad road of destruction, but few will follow the narrow road of salvation. The danger is not only in external threats, but in internal deception. 2 Timothy 3 describes that in the last times, people will become selfish, lovers of money, and despisers of faith. The spirit of the Antichrist is already at work, setting the stage for his arrival. This means that many will be deceived even within the churches. How many today already exchange God's truth for empty promises of prosperity and earthly success? How many prefer to follow charismatic leaders rather than seek the word of God? The warning is clear. Those who are not spiritually prepared will be easily seduced by the Antichrist system. Spiritual vigilance does not only mean being attentive to the signs of the times, but strengthening oneself in faith. Preparation must be practical, reading the scriptures, constant prayer, and strengthening communion with God. Many live as if these events were far away, but the truth is that each new crisis, each technological advance, and each global change are indications that time is running out. The question is, are you ready? If today your access to money, food, and basic services were cut off because of your faith, would you be able to stand firm? Those who choose to follow Christ will need unwavering faith. In biblical times, the early Christians faced brutal persecutions. They were burned alive, thrown to the wild beasts, and killed in unimaginable ways. But even so, they did not deny their faith. The time is coming when that same choice will be placed before everyone. Accept the mark of the beast and stay in the system, or reject it and face persecution. Will those who today cannot live without a simple cell phone or modern comfort be able to withstand this final test? Preparation also involves taking a firm stand against the world's deceptions. The Antichrist system is already paving the way, and many don't even realize it. Ideologies contrary to the Bible are being normalized. Morality is being redefined, and true faith is being ridiculed. Those who do not train their spiritual eyes to see these signs will be vulnerable to deception. Revelation 3:11 warns us, "I am coming quickly. Hold fast what you have, lest any man take your crown." The warning is clear. Fidelity needs to be constant because trials will come. In addition, it is necessary to remember that victory has already been declared. The Antichrist may reign for a time, but his end is already determined. The kingdom of God will not be shaken. Philippians 4:7 assures us that God's peace will keep those who trust in him even in the midst of chaos. This trust cannot be based solely on superficial knowledge of the Bible, but on a real relationship with God. This is what will give strength to resist when the whole world is bowing down to the beast. The decision needs to be made now. Many are waiting for visible signs, an official announcement from a world government, or an explicit tagging system, but preparation cannot wait. The spirit of the Antichrist is already shaping minds, weakening faith, and conditioning the masses to accept what is to come. Only those who are spiritually strong will be able to see the truth and resist. The end times are not just a distant event, but a reality unfolding before us. And those who are attentive will realize that the last piece of this great puzzle is already being placed. The spirit of the Antichrist is already in the world, and the great revelation is about to take place. But how does this directly impact your life today? Many expect the Antichrist to appear suddenly, as if it were an isolated event, but the truth is that his spirit has been operating in the world for a long time. 1 John 4:3-4 warns us that the spirit of Antichrist, who is already in the world, has been quietly working to prepare the nations, society, and even the minds of the people for his arrival. He will not emerge as an obvious villain, but as a charismatic leader, a problem solver, someone who will earn the trust of humanity before revealing his true intention. The scenario is already set up, and each piece on the board is being carefully placed. Just look at the events around us. The inversion of values is everywhere. What was once considered right is now ridiculed, and what was once unthinkable is now celebrated. Morality is being rewritten, and anyone who opposes it is branded intolerant. This cultural deconstruction is no accident. It's part of a much larger plan. The Antichrist cannot rule over a world where people still have strong principles and an unshakable faith. Before he takes over, he must weaken the truth, create confusion, and condition mankind to accept his leadership without question. Technology also plays a crucial role in this process. Never before in history has there been such a high level of surveillance, information manipulation, and digital dependence. Social networks, artificial intelligence, facial recognition, centralized digital currencies, all these innovations are paving the way for absolute control. If there are already algorithms that can determine what you can and cannot say online, what prevents a global government from determining what you can and cannot think? The Antichrist will not need to force anyone to follow him. People themselves will run to it, believing that they are making the right choice. The spirit of the Antichrist is also manifested in the growing hatred against all that is genuinely Christian. Have you ever noticed how faith in Jesus Christ is increasingly marginalized? Movies, series, media, and public discourses promote any type of belief except true Christianity. Biblical values are constantly attacked, while practices that were once condemned are now encouraged. This is not a fluke, it is a strategy. If society is conditioned to reject God's principles, then when the Antichrist presents himself as the solution to all problems, few will have the discernment to perceive the trap. And how to prepare for it? The answer lies in spiritual vigilance. Jesus warned us in Matthew 24:42, "Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming." This means being mindful not only of global events, but also of what is happening within one's own mind and heart. The subtle normalization of sin, constant distraction with empty entertainment, and spiritual apathy are symptoms of a world already seduced by the spirit of the Antichrist. Those who are not spiritually awake will be easily deceived when the time comes. But there is hope. Those who remain faithful to God and attentive to Scripture will not be taken by surprise. The Holy Spirit guides and strengthens those who pursue the truth. If the spirit of the Antichrist is already at work, so is the Spirit of God, awakening those who want to see. The difference between falling into deception and standing firm will be the depth of one's relationship with God. This is the time to strengthen faith, study the Scriptures, and prepare your hearts for what is to come. The big reveal is getting closer and closer. The system is already in place, the world has already been conditioned, and the leader who will take over this new order may just be waiting for the right moment to manifest himself. The question is, when it is finally revealed, will you be prepared? And if everything that has been said so far seems like a distant theory, the next topic will bring a truth that many are not prepared to hear. They are no longer hiding. The leader of the new world is about to be revealed. What will you do with this information? Will you ignore the signs or prepare yourself before it's too late? The system is already in place, and when the Antichrist is revealed, many will not have time to react. You need to strengthen your faith, open your eyes, and share this truth before the world sinks into total deception. If this video made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The truth needs to be told, and you need to be prepared. The decision is yours. Are you ready?